Mr. David, and with me as always is Darth.
Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! The movie. Let's talk about it.
He's freaking out.
Oh my god!
He's been freaking out for like a couple days now, man.
I haven't slept.
Man, I'll tell you something else. But how many times have you watched it so far? Just the once?
2 times.
2 times. Okay.
Saw it today.
Yeah. Well, I thought I was up there with 3, and then we had a great conversation with Lindsay from Clashing Sabers, which you'll hear later this week. And I was like, oh yeah, how many times have you watched it? Like, I think she said 6 times, or
oh my god,
6 or 9
That's
times.
multiple times a day.
And I was like, oh, well, I've seen it 3 times.
That means she had to do probably some noon showings just so she could watch it again the same day.
Well, she did like me and took
cool.
Friday off, so she was able to get Friday. I think she said she watched it twice in on the first day. But
nice.
And to be honest with you, I think if I kind of wanted to see it more too, but once a day, it was like, okay, once a day sounds rational. I guess not. But but anyway, I know most.
We're not all rational.
True. I know most people have been able to watch the movie at least a couple times now, which is great. And that kind of seems to prove a little bit of the power of this final movie, multiple first watches.
Yeah, it's still surprising, at least at the theater I went to, very dead. Not many people. The first showing was almost full. This one, of course, it was a early showing today, but it was probably only maybe 20, 25 people in there.
Really?
So, and with it being a, big holiday, a lot of people are off work, I would still expect the numbers to be up there. So, but I could definitely tell there were some people who had seen it before because they were kind of reciting lines before they said them. So it's not a one and done. Everyone is enjoying it.
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely had some folks not be so happy with it. If we're being honest with each other, I don't think
this could have been the best movie in cinematography. In the history of cinematography. There, that's better. It could be the best movie ever. There would still be Star Wars fans who would complain because we cannot, as a group, agree on anything.
Sure.
So you go into it knowing that there's going to be and there were people who were hating on it when we went to see it on opening night. A lot of people were laughing at certain key scenes and saying that just all the different shots were ugly and just not a very good story at all. So you'll have those people.
Yeah, and that's because we actually talked directly after your movie ended on what I actually call true opening day. Because I was out. You started your watch about an hour after I started mine, so you were.
I opted for the 7 o'clock. You did the 6 o'clock.
Right, and we had some conversations about it there, and I do remember you talking a little bit about some folks being a little negative to that point, which I don't know. I guess I'll be honest. I kind of thought that that I needed that second viewing to really get a lot of things, and maybe it does take people a little bit more than that, but I don't know. I can't really see. Well, okay, I can be critical of some things because I think we can always be critical of something, but I think, just initially I felt very satisfied with the movie.
I think the biggest question you need to ask is, was the movie good enough that you don't need to be overly critical on any one specific thing? Or was it another Last Jedi?
That's impossible. That's impossible. You can always be critical. But we're going to dive in here. So prepare for spoilers. Prepare for, all the...
Oh, I thought this was spoiler free.
Shut your mouth right now.
That'd be impossible.
Impossible. But let's take a look at the box office here because we did get some numbers here for the opening weekend, and it looks like, and this is just from Box Office Mojo, and we had let's see, 177, little over 177 million domestically, with just under 200 million international for a total of 376,105,780 millions of dollars. So
I wonder how much of that was pre-order sales.
Well, pre-order sales were definitely up. I remember reading something about that, but there were certainly a lot of pre-order sales for this. Now, equating that to kind of what folks were expecting. Now, Disney, at least in one of the articles I read, stupid auto playing videos, like, quit it, man. I don't want to see your stupid videos. Disney, I believe, was looking for around like the 165 million mark, but many folks were starting to edge up that number to like 220. Now, The Force Awakens opened up to 248 million. The Last Jedi, 220 million. So,
and what was it for this one?
Well, so let me see. Were those domestic, or I think that those were totals. This article, and this is just Variety, but I'm assuming that these numbers were for domestic and international. So technically, if that's the case, then this movie has done better. But as we all know, we generally only count the U.S. opening for a lot of these things as the true number. So maybe what I'm guessing is the 248 is the U.S. opening for Force Awakens, 220 for Last Jedi, 176 for the U.S. Open. Because we don't, for some reason, it's like the global, just, oh yeah, by the way, you made another double your profit in this one.
Yeah, if nothing else, I mean, they paid for themselves in the first week, so that's, gravy for them from now on. So.
And now the Force Awakens went on to collect $2 billion globally. Last Jedi, $1.3 billion globally.
It'll be interesting to see the numbers for this a month from now.
Absolutely. Now, this did command the box office, so that's good. But I think basically the point is I think a lot of folks were expecting this to do better in form of, just getting that money.
Yeah.
So.
Well, obviously we both pre-ordered ours, but
yeah,
can't think of a lot of people that were super excited about this movie that I know to be Star Wars fans. Of course, we are mega fans, but
there was a
couple.
Go ahead.
I was just say a couple people talked about, but I don't know anyone who's seen it yet. So.
Yeah, I think that the buzz for this was cautiously optimistic because there's unfortunately I think it's kind of become a mob mentality to just say, well, Last Jedi was terrible. Oh yeah, that's right, it was terrible. And I think that folks that really sat down and really watched it probably don't have that opinion in totality. I know you weren't a huge Last Jedi fan yourself.
The more I've watched it, the more it's grown on me, though.
Sure.
Honestly, the first showing of it's a rough movie the first time you watch it. It is not that good of a first watch.
Yeah.
I still stand behind that. But it'll be interesting to see now that I can watch all three in succession what I really, truly think about that movie.
Yeah, that should be nice.
It does still have its good moments. If you can ignore certain parts of it, take out Canto Bight, it's still a good movie.
Agreed.
It's not the best Star Wars movie by far.
No, I would say not.
And for the people who hate that movie, I would argue that this movie should satisfy you.
I would really think so. Now let's talk a little bit about critical review. We're just going to go tomatoes because I think Metacritic is garbage and IMDb is usually overly nice. Because IMDb has it like 7 out of 10. Metacritic's at like I think 52 or something like that, or 55. Now, Rotten Tomatoes, 56 for the critic count, and that's a count of 388 critics. The audience score, however, is 86% of 40,169 people polled in that.
That's impressive.
Now, this is something that we've seen beforehand, though. And when I didn't do any spoilers or anything like that, but I did check the critical score because Last Jedi didn't have bad critic scores, but it had terrible audience scores. So I want to.
Same with Solo.
Right, yeah. So my thing with Star Wars is like, if it's getting not such a great critical review, but the audience scores are good, then it's going to be a good movie. So that was my first sort of indication that I was like, this might be a good movie. But yeah, the critics, let's cycle through a little bit here and we can kind of chat about that before we really jump in if I can. There's a couple more fresh ones, but it doesn't do anything new or even terribly distinctive, but maybe it didn't have to. It just had to be good enough to stick the landing, and it does that. So here's a negative one, and I'm not going to read the full reviews. You sense in this film J.J. Abrams shrinking the world. Everything in this franchise feels like a take back, which is kind of is sort of true, but when we can talk about the distinctions between Last Jedi and then Rise. Let's see here. Let's get a couple more critical ones here. When we meet up with the brash pilot Poe, he's light speed skipping his way out of trouble, and Abrams is in as much the same mode, whisking you from one thing to the next before you have much time to think or feel anything in response.
I can understand that it's a very fast-paced movie, but I also think that he had a lot to put into this movie. So
sure, yep. Yeah. Here's another one. The hemerotic logic of the plot is as impeccable as it is ridiculous. It's a drama crafted with robotic. I am not reading this guy's attempts at $3 words by using $1.25 words. What a dork. Sorry, I can't even finish reading that. This is a guy who's trying to be a linguist, but he clearly isn't. Sorry. Next one. The stars above and beneath, the fiery eyes of Daisy Ridley, the soul beacon with promise of a story with emotional investment and volcanic result. J.J. Abrams betrays Daisy Ridley's eyes.
What?
Critics, bro. Let's move on to another one. J.J. Abrams' final chapter in the new Star Wars trilogy backtracks the boldest ideas of the previous entry. The Last Jedi, in its process, succumbs to bad faith fans, in quotations, fans. So there's a guy who clearly enjoyed The Last Jedi. Let's do one last one, and then we'll move on here. And again, these are just the quote rotten reviews. The first one I read was technically a fresh one. But let's do one more rotten one, and then we'll get away from this. J.J. Abrams' Episode 9 is so desperate to please fans that it ends up throwing any semblance of intra-film cohesion out the window. Intra-film cohesion out the window. So
now we got someone trying to use $5 words for a $3 sentence.
Well, intra-film cohesion, it's not that. Yeah, any semblance of intra-film cohesion, it's not that bad. That other guy, though, oh my goodness, it was like trying to read somebody who like picked up a dictionary. Is like, well, this word sounds awful scrumptious.
I'm not gonna take the time to find the right word. I'm just gonna pick one I like.
It's super duper scrumptious. Robotic insularity. Okie dokie, buddy. So anyway, that's some critical stuff off of Rotten Tomatoes. Again, there's a lot here. 216 fresh, 172 rotten. So obviously there's more fresh than rotten, but obviously the score is built off of what is this out of 10 or something like that, I think. Mm-hmm. Oh, out of 5 maybe. Yeah, no.
So is it 5?
No, all these ratings are different. There's different ratings. There's like some that are out of 5 and some that are out of 10. I don't know. So anyway.
It's whatever they want to use.
Yeah, well.
That's why it's so popular.
Well, yeah, you have your split, and then some people also have their ratings. Anyway, it's low. So there's that. There's critical. There's box office. Now let's talk about Baby Yoda. and how he's going to save Star Wars
That's
forever.
right. Baby Yoda.
Oh, goodness. Okay. Well, you want to walk through this movie then?
Oh, I didn't actually go see it. I don't know.
Shut your mouth. Shut your mouth.
Yes.
So I want to ask you here, did you feel like some people did that the pace was too quick?
It was the most fast-paced Star Wars movie, period, by far. But I went into it expecting nothing less. In fact, I think that if it hadn't been so fast-paced, then we would have been left with way too many questions. Way too many. And this movie did a good job of not bringing up a lot of questions. I only have a couple, to be honest.
Well, I do too, and we'll talk about those as well. But I think that the first maybe quarter of the movie was very fast. I mean, think about the beginning, right off from the crawl.
The first 15 minutes was jarring for me.
Yeah,
it really was.
But think about the crawl. I mean, right out from the crawl, it's Palpatine. So, and then the next scene is, Kylo killing some folks, finding the Wayfinder, going to Palpatine. Oh, hey, guess what? I got a fleet. You can have it. Just kill Rey. It was like bang,
so
bang, bang, bang.
The entire plot of the movie is just thrown at you in literally 15 minutes.
Right.
There's no setup. There's no development really in that sense. But
did we need it though? Is the real question.
True. And also, I never felt like a scene was cheap or unemotional because it was fast paced. I never was lost in the movie, and I never felt like they phoned in performances. I think they put a lot of work into every scene. So I don't think the movie was too fast paced. I wish we could have had a bit of a slow spot in the middle, a little break. And I guess you could say we kind of got that, but no, I don't have that problem with the movie.
Well, I kind of have the viewpoint that, the second viewing, I didn't feel like it was fast at all. The first viewing, I felt that it was pretty fast, but the second viewing, I think it's just because
causing us to think that.
Well, maybe. I think it's also like the eye trying to catch every little thing. But then when you watch it and you kind of have a background to sort of, then my second viewing, I can go in and it's like, I know this sort of happened, but now I'm going to look at this angle type of deal. So I think that the movie benefits a lot from a second viewing. But I do get it because my first initial reaction was, man, that seemed fast.
Yeah.
So.
No, I do agree in the second showing. I didn't have that problem at all. In fact, it did seem to slow down for me as well.
Yeah.
So, I think that everyone really needs to watch this movie at least 2 to 3 times before they give a final opinion on it. Again, our hearts were all racing during this movie, so I think we kind of took it a little differently on the first showing.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So
what did you think about the characters here? Let's talk about the main three, Rey, Finn, and Poe. How did you feel about them and their development and kind of, how they move through this movie?
You want me to just be simple and harsh?
You can do whatever you like. I mean, I think honesty is the best policy here because there are people that are going to say one thing or the other, but just whatever your opinion is, really.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, Finn, we finally got Finn back from Force Awakens. I enjoyed Finn's performance. He got some development, and I think that he had some emotional scenes that I really appreciated. He wasn't a clown anymore, and he is a great character. And anyone who doesn't think he's a Force sensitive is just kidding themselves.
Right.
He clearly is. Daisy did an amazing job. Rey was very compelling, I thought.
Yep.
Her character development was great. I love what they did with the dark side with her, all the different temptations and, how broken she was over her parents and everything.
Right.
Poe, for 2/3 of the movie, I could do without.
Okay.
The first 2/3. Now, when we were at our final space battle, I really appreciated Poe. Really did.
Yeah.
I think that the actor did a great job throughout the whole movie. he's just not the most compelling character for me.
Yeah, and I've kind of said
So
that too. I'm not a huge Poe supporter, although I will
I like
say,
Poe in the books quite a bit. I do like him in the
yeah.
books. He doesn't translate to on screen all that well.
Well, I think I mildly disagree with that. I mean, just a little bit because of this movie. And I've said it before, I didn't
Yeah.
really care what he did in the first two movies. I thought he was a bland, just pilot character that I didn't really care much about. But in this movie, I think that, he had a lot more compelling things going on. Even, in the beginning, we kind of saw a little bit of conflict with Rey. He's light speed skipping around, and when he finally comes back to base, everything's on fire. And I actually loved this scene with the banter between him and Rey. It's like, you're a difficult man, and
Yeah.
but he finally kind of cracks it up there and says, hey, we're out here. We need you out here. You're one of our best fighters, but instead you're here training. And I think that the story we were getting with Poe is that A, he's not Leia, and B,
That's for damn sure.
yeah, exactly. But B, he doesn't necessarily carry the hope. And that was very evident and very well done emotionally when we get our final battle and he thinks that reinforcements are not coming, and he goes over the comm and just says, "My friends, I'm sorry. This is basically the end." And so I felt a lot more interested in him here. But like you said, I think we got Finn back. He sort of seemed like the glue in this group for me. Like, even when Poe and Rey are arguing, Rey goes to Finn, Poe goes to Finn. They all kind of defer a little bit more to Finn. And I think
they see reason in the other person's words through Finn as well.
Right. And he seems like he's really found his place here, and he's got the confidence in order to be himself. So that's great. And like you said, Daisy and Rey, the character Rey, just awesome development. I can't say enough about how they really propelled that character into something I think truly special.
Yeah,
So,
and for someone, I don't see how anyone could really say that she's a Mary Sue at this point. I know
tons
everyone
of
loves saying
people
that
are.
with Last Jedi, and this will probably shut down our channel for saying it, but I'm going to go ahead and say it anyway because I don't care. We got Disney anyway, so we don't mind. I think as far as acting goes and development from beginning to end, she might be the best protagonist in Star Wars. And that's coming from someone who idolized Mark Hamill as Luke Skywalker growing up.
Well,
as far as really amazing acting, I mean, maybe not amazing, but
yeah.
Obviously you go back to the old Star Wars movies, some of the acting's rough. It's just the era. And when you go back to Hayden's acting, because of his writing, it's really hard to appreciate his portrayal. So you almost have this thing where there was good writing in the original trilogy, acting was subpar, vice versa in the prequels. And with this, we have a little bit of both. The writing's much better, and she performs great, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of folks that would agree with you on Rey being, one of the more interesting protagonists in the series. I think that she's been constructed very well. I was glad to see her get out of the kind of overly resistant to everything, that we kind of saw in the books. Frustration and I don't think I can do this type of deal. So I think it was
and
good.
Before this movie, I don't want to say I wasn't a fan of her, but yes, you're right. The book portrayals of Rey were kind of terrible. And as far as Last Jedi, I did go through that movie thinking, is this really who's replacing the Skywalker family? Is this really what we're getting? but after what they did with her storyline, I'm very happy for what they did. Very happy.
Yeah,
A great character.
I think so too. So let's also talk about some of the new characters as well. We had Zori Bliss, we had Jaina, Dio pops up there, Babu Frick.
Who was your favorite?
Who else was new? Well, we had Dominic Monaghan's character that I can't for the life of me remember his name. Claude, the alien guy who was there for some reason. Snap Wexley.
Oh, don't get me started on Snap.
Yeah, we'll talk about Snap. Nobody even knows who he is. I swear I've been talking to air on that one, but
could anyone tell you which ship he even piloted?
Well, the funny thing about that is when they were all gearing up, he
got in an A-wing.
He got in an A-wing, but
then switched to an X-wing.
He's classically been an X-wing pilot.
But his final scene was an X-wing.
Correct. So it's like, I don't know, maybe he was just prepping the A-wing, but when I saw that, I was like, he doesn't fly an A-wing. Well, maybe okay, but then spoiler alert, Snap dies. And I was like, oh man, that's not good. But that's kind of the equivalent.
If there was anything that super disappointed me in this movie, it was that. Just because I really didn't feel like it was needed.
Well, but the problem is like he's the equivalence of like Biggs dying.
Yeah.
In the originals, because not many people are going to know who he is unless you read Aftermath or unless you read Resistance Reborn. So it's going to be a non-starter for a lot of folks. Most people just won't care
because they're going to say, oh, he was that one guy who was just kind of joking around with Leia. Who cares?
I thought that was great.
Well, he's so much. Yeah, I did too. Knowing his character and how serious he can be, I thought that was really cool to see. Yeah. And reading the books and everything, you kind of imagine Snap to be a very different person than who he's portrayed as.
I do as well, but I mean, it is what it is. But as far as favorite, I like Zori, but there wasn't much of her. I mean, we didn't even see her full face.
Yeah.
Jaina was cool to kind of bring a little bit more affirmation to Poe that more First Order troopers were defecting and did not agree with this, and he wasn't the only one, so that was cool.
Yeah.
Babu Frick was funny. He had his little moment working on C-3PO. Mm-hmm. Hi, I'm Babu Frick. Oh yeah, Babu Frick, he's my oldest friend. So,
hey.
So he was kind of funny. And I know that there's some folks out there that were kind of like, oh yeah, it's like the new Baby Yoda. It's like, no, it's not.
No, not even close.
No, it's not. Just watch
Nothing in here compares to Baby Yoda.
But he was fun little character. It's good to have fun little characters, have a little bit more humor. But and Dio was interesting. Just his little interesting little vocal patterns and no thank you. And then giving a little bit more towards the cause at the end because I don't remember a lot of names. But the sort of assassin guy, he that was his droid and he was abusive towards it. But I do think that it kind of highlighted the how Rey treats people and things. We got a lot of, okay, so let's just say this and go ahead. So Rey's a Palpatine. Mm-hmm. All right, she's a Palpatine. And
it's crazy. It probably took us longer than the movie to reveal that.
Yeah, true. But so the point is that she's a Palpatine who came from this super evil guy, evilest guy in the galaxy, right? But she's taking the time to heal this, crazy snake or, help a droid. I mean, she helped BB-8. I even thought it was funny at the end when she reunites with BB-8. She like touches him all over, makes sure his antennas are straight and everything like she did in the first movie. And, her empathy and her caring for living and sentient things in this galaxy, completely the opposite of what her grandfather is, and it's like, it's really hard for me to worry about this unless something major happens that makes her walk the dark side. Everything that I've seen to this point does not allow me to believe that she could.
Well, it kind of makes me wonder why they chose to add the trailer showing Dark Side Rey.
Well, and I mean, we can just jump into that too. We can just follow Rey for a bit here. So, part of Rey's story is she's training with Leia, Master Leia, which is awesome.
Leia. Yes.
She has her training course, but she's still having a little bit of trouble with that. She's not
doesn't really want to even claim Luke's lightsaber until she feels she's earned it.
Correct. But so she's not going out on missions, but is kind of finally forced to, because we know now that the Emperor has this fleet. Kylo Ren's at the head of it. We have to find a wayfinder. Blah blah blah. So as she starts to get out into the galaxy, we arrive on our desert planet, and again she's showing her personality towards these little. I'll be honest with you. I wasn't too enthusiastic about the little pig kids or the elephant kids
you didn't
or whatever.
Like the dance?
The dancing was fine. I'm talking about the kids, like not
you mean the one that gave her the necklace and everything.
Not like the full adults, but like the little kids that were watching the little puppet show. It's like, oh my goodness, this is very puppet here. This is we're roaming in Dark Crystal Land, huh? But again, showing her.
But it also was a showcase of her kindness with the little girl. That,
exactly.
Gave her the necklace.
Exactly. We get Lando back at this point. Yes. Lando does help them out, and he
probably kills a stormtrooper in the best way doing it.
Yeah, he doesn't even have a blaster. He just has like a little mini crossbow,
Just a little mini Chewie walking around.
Yeah, I guess. And he kind of points him in the right direction, which was also really neat that he said, oh yeah, me and Luke, we tracked it down. So Luke and Lando were out having adventures.
Yeah. Can we get that, please?
I think that would be awesome.
Yeah. We get something you never really thought of, obviously they interacted, but never really got much of them going on adventures together.
Well, you'd expect him to like be out there with Han or something, but Lando just out with Lando and Lobot or something like that. It's cool, but it sounded a little bit odd when it's like, oh, but you know what? That's actually really cool.
Yeah.
So we get our heroes. They go out to the desert to find the ship. We have that quicksand moment. Finn's secret. What is Finn's secret, Darth? What is it?
Oh, who knows? Probably that. I don't know.
Oh, it
couldn't be a love arc, could it?
I love you, Red. I love you. That's exactly what it was. Now,
is this a bad time? I'm sorry.
No, I honestly thought it was. He wanted to tell her that he was force sensitive. Not about the love. I didn't think. I don't think it's about that with them right now.
We saw that in the first movie, but I think they kind of did away with that in the second, and JJ kept the theme in the third. I don't really think that was ever a consideration.
Yeah,
long term.
I think he's been feeling a lot of stuff. I think he's been tuning himself in a little bit more, and
I think probably what we saw with Force Awakens was something that we saw with Archex, in that just he is so
in Black Spire. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I think that he's just so, alienated from the outside world to have someone give him attention. Yes, he fell in love with Rey a little bit at the beginning of the movie, just like Archex did with Vi.
Yeah.
It's just they're awkward. They're like teenagers again, really. So,
well, I'm
glad they didn't pursue that.
It was two kids on the run. One of them running from evil, and the other one kind of just running away from a past that she can't see anymore. So for me, I don't know. Maybe he wanted to say that he loves her or something, but I kind of felt it was more like about the Force than anything else. But we saw
multiple things about his Force sensitivity in this movie as well.
Yes, we did.
So it's something I'm kind of hoping we get a little bit more on.
Right.
From a book or a comic, something.
Yeah, agreed. Now, I did like the little thing when they fell through the, quote, quicksand or whatever, Poe's like, oh, you don't want to tell her now? Not just drop it, man. And another funny thing in there, if you remember,
C-3PO.
well, yeah, the 3PO humor was pretty good, but I like, Rey lights her lightsaber up and then Poe goes to whip out his flashlight.
Yeah.
And it just makes a little kind of little dainty sound there.
Yeah. The worst flashlight in the world in the galaxy far, far away.
Mine's bigger than yours is.
Oh, I got to shake it a few times, charge it up. Hold on, guys. Hold on.
Yeah. So, I mean, we obviously had our very convenient healing snake moment, which then cracked the wall so that they could get out.
Yeah, just like from a video game.
Yeah. Heal the
a
snake.
Really bad RPG.
Heal the snake and it reveals the door.
Yeah.
But let's
actually not even that. Probably a Dungeons and Dragons moment more than a video game moment.
Maybe. Now let's get into really the first Rey Kylo battle in this movie, and it's a battle of force.
Yes.
When they believe Chewie has been, taken. We see the transport shuttle, and Rey reaches out to bring that shuttle back down. Now, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and right after discovering that she has Force Heal, for her to be able to pull off that feat, a Star Killer level feat, almost, is, just showcases how strong she's becoming.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, we look back at Luke on Dagobah, and he couldn't lift his X-Wing, and Yoda did. Yeah. And that was like the pinnacle. Oh, he lifted it. I can't do that. He didn't believe he could do it. He just didn't believe it. But Rey seems to believe anything is possible. Heal, transferring your life energy to heal another, bring down, a shuttle that's launched. So her potential seems to be
much higher when you think about it.
Because she believes. She obviously has the X-Files I Want to Believe poster up in her room, along with her doll and her weird bread.
And her staff.
And then we get Kylo fighting back, and this produces a very interesting thing. We see another Force power manifest, Force lightning.
Yes.
Old Palpatine's famous move.
Let me ask you that. How shocked were you, no pun intended, when you saw that?
It was pretty crazy.
Obviously, because of certain implications, Chewie being on the shuttle.
Right. And I'll gauge your response on this too, because I've had some different thoughts on it. But obviously Daisy was, instantly just Chewie. She's...
Yeah.
She cries out, Finn yells, which I thought was great. That was very raw. But I also looked at Kylo's face too, because he backed up and he kind of did a double take. Do you think that was because of the power or because Chewie's potentially dead?
I think it was Chewie, because that's around the time that he started having second thoughts on everything. He was conflicted through this entire movie, and he got bombarded with a lot of emotion from his past and his family. So I think this was just another nail in the coffin for Kylo.
Yeah, I actually, was thinking I think he was surprised at the power, but I also think that part of that shock was potentially that Chewie is gone. Chewie was a part of his life. Okay, there was no way.
Regardless of the conflict between him and his father, Chewie is just a loving extra father figure, uncle, whatever you want to call him. You can't hate Chewie. You just can't.
No, but Chewie would have been a part of his life. He would have been around. I would have, carried him around and played with him and had him climb all over him, pull his hair and stuff.
Kind of like certain twins would have.
Yeah, but we can't talk about that anymore.
Or the hat.
But again, I kind of feel like that would have been a part of it too. Obviously, we learned a little bit later that Chewie did not die.
Yeah, how do you feel about that?
It's very happy, I guess. But I didn't. I think I said this beforehand in our pre-release before the movie dropped, that I said I'm not really interested in having a bunch of people die, because if you look at the originals, we didn't really have that. At least on a main
make no
character.
mistake, I don't want Chewie to die, but I just feel like the implications of what Rey did and the fact that he survived that and how quickly they reveal that he survived was just a little jarring for me.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. I agree with you there, and I think that I've read a few other people's opinions that said maybe this would have dealt a little bit more into the potential for the dark side for Rey to have truly lost somebody close like Chewie.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm glad he's alive personally.
I am too. I want him in plenty of books to come. So
it leads to some other great stuff with him. So let's kind of continue. I can't remember the planet that we kind of get next. I just call it Caligula, which isn't even close to being correct because that was an old Roman emperor. But
yeah. Are you referring to the one that Poe sends them to?
Well, where we meet Zori and Poe's old crew, and
it's got a G. It's like Kaijiji or something weird like that.
Caligula. Yeah, I mean, totally. Yeah. Got it. Yeah, I'm totally right.
Kaiji, I think maybe, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean,
someone's screaming at us.
Come on. So we get the hacking of 3PO because he had read the dagger. You know, the dagger was, in my opinion, very downplayed from sort of what we were speculating. It's just basically a map.
I didn't like the dagger in the movie at all, if I'm being honest. The payoff for the dagger was stupid.
Are you talking about the fact that it has to perfectly line up with wreckage that's been in the water for 30 years and a choppy thing that could have potentially been moved at any point?
Yes, and nothing
and change shape.
And nothing on the dagger actually pointed to it. It's just what was in the center between the little part that pulls up and that. It's like, oh, it's obviously that.
Yeah.
It's like, really, it's not one of the little cutouts in the thing or anything else that would actually make sense. No, it's just in the center of it. And how does she know to cut her finger? Yeah, who knows?
I thought it wasn't. I didn't really care too much about that at all. It was just like a movement sort of, like Indiana Jonesy type of plot point. Oh, you got to get this in here, or like
Tomb Raider.
Yeah, something like that. Oh, I got to get this piece to put it here to get another piece to put it over. National Treasure it, you know.
Yeah.
So that it is what it is, but we go to get the language out of C-3PO's head because he can't translate it. He's got a block from the old Republic days.
Not allowed to translate anything from a Sith language.
Very interesting. But we do hey man, I know a guy. And then we kind of get a little bit of Poe's backstory being a spice runner. And it led to one of my favorite moments. You ran spice? You were a First Order stormtrooper? You ran spice? You were a scavenger? We could do this all day.
Mm-hmm.
I love that part personally.
Poe, runner of spice.
Yes. Spice runner. Poe. Runner of spice.
Yeah, that was the humor in this movie was really good, but that was probably one of my favorite things. So, yeah.
Let me also ask you this, because sometimes I notice really dumb little things. Did you notice all the really convenient wheelchair ramps for BB-8 to roll up?
Uh-huh.
Like all the time?
Yeah. Every single planet, ship, everything was very BB-8 friendly.
I mean, it's great. You know, you could chair yourself up, or if you just want to not do stairs and have a little bit, different way to go, or maybe that's the droid walk. I don't know. I found it convenient because even when they're on the Star Destroyer, like you notice there's a section that he rolls up and down.
Right.
Convenient.
I always wondered with the original trilogy and all that with the prequels, if they added the ability for R2 to have his little rocket boosters just because they got to this point where like, well, crap, how's R2 getting out of this? Or how's he getting to the spot he needs to be at? I'll just give him rocket boosters. Well, and this movie's like, no, everything's BB-8 friendly.
Well, geez, even like C-3PO's range of motion really isn't all that impressive.
How does he get up steps?
I literally don't know the answer to that. I really don't.
Yeah. Every step takes him about an hour, and he falls down twice.
Yeah. So we got, we cracked 3PO. He now is memory wiped, which happens to him after every franchise.
Yeah. So it really wasn't that emotional at all.
Not really.
At that point, I'm like, oh, it doesn't matter. R2's got his memory banks. I don't care what C3PO says about how reliable they are.
And that's the other thing. We were able to get him back relatively quick too, at least to the point before they left for the mission.
Yeah.
So not really jarring.
No.
We
Again,
also
really Snap was the only jarring thing.
Yeah. Well, we get Kylo's ship coming down to planet Caligula. I think we should just rename it. Start a petition to rename that planet until I figure out how to pronounce it.
Sure, we could look it up, but that'd be too difficult.
Way too difficult. I like Caligula. So anyway, so we get his ship descending, and then Rey feels Chewie in the Force, and they launch their ridiculous plan to take on the destroyer and rescue him using the medallion of a captain in the First Order, which Zori had somehow acquired.
Yeah.
Very convenient, but hey, it's cool. We did get some really cool shots of, that was from the trailer, running down the halls with Chewie and running and gunning and everything.
Yeah, were you disappointed by that at all? That entire sequence?
No, not really. I mean, it was...
Well, I know you were going for the theory that Poe was force sensitive because of the way he was dodging.
No, I don't think he's force sensitive, but I do remember bringing that up because it was like, well, that's a really convenient dodge right there.
Yeah.
He totally saw that.
Let me ask you this. Do you think that they're a little OP in that entire sequence?
Yeah, I mean,
they mowed down the stormtroopers.
Yeah, it makes the First Order troopers kind of look a little bit, nerfed, maybe, to use a gaming term, because I'm a serious gamer. Until they have like forces, like actual numbers. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, one shot, one kills. A lot of that. Some 360 no scopes going on there.
Sometimes you got to shoot them between the armor. Sometimes it just doesn't matter, and a pistol will decimate them. Why not?
Maybe one day we'll have an episode about that, because it's true. Sometimes we get in books where you have to like get the soft spots in between the arm, and then other times you can just literally blast through their chest plate.
Yes, the Stormtrooper, the most situational badass in all of Star Wars.
Yep, very true. Absolutely true. They are captured and then, quote, rescued by the spy, which just so happens to be old Armitage Hux.
Did you like that? Honestly, I think it was perfect for him.
I liked it, and I also called it. I totally thought that was going to happen, because There's no
way he's following Kylo. No way.
Well, he's like the kid who was like, "No, Daddy Snoke, I don't want another brother. I don't like him. Stop him from doing stuff."
Yeah, and he even tried to do that a little bit with the general in this. What's his name? Pride. General Pride. With that, he tried to turn him against Kylo slightly, and when it was kind of clear that wasn't going to happen. Yeah.
Well, the thing about General Pride is he didn't answer to anybody except Palpatine.
Nope. Old Chief.
Yeah. So he was completely in the pocket of them. What did you think of Pride? What did you think of Richard? Was it Richard E. Grant? I believe was the actor's name. What did you think of his portrayal?
It was definitely, one trick pony in a way with his acting. Mm-hmm. But as far as when we got our moment when he revealed that he had served Palpatine in the old war, as I served you then, shall I serve you now? All that was really good.
Yeah.
He didn't leave a lasting impression.
Okay.
Necessarily for me. I don't feel like he had a ton of screen time, though.
Sure.
Had a couple good scenes. Actor did a great job.
Yeah.
Nothing against him. I think he would be a great character for a book. And I keep saying that a lot with this episode, but I really think that a few of these characters need books.
Sure.
Because they didn't get a lot of time.
Yeah, I
We
mean,
added a lot of new characters without a lot of screen time for any of them.
well, yeah, there was a lot of shoving of characters for sure. I like Pride. I think he did a good enough job for what he was supposed to be there for, which was just a minor supportive character. I think too oftentimes we get into the mindset where everybody has to have a 100% important role, and then we're sort of left
Well, we have a
disappointed. Well, we're sort of left disappointed when we don't get that because we see potential in it.
yeah,
Just like you said, maybe Pride could have more in a book. Okay, that's true. Or he could just be another general in a giant war machine type of deal.
true. We get more history with the characters that we grew up with. We can go into their backstory and lore, so everything they do in the movies mean more. So you could say we're a bit spoiled with that too.
Yeah, I
I mean,
suppose.
let's be honest. I mean, Tarkin didn't have a lot in the movies, but he had quite a bit of lore behind him, and he was just a
Well,
all-around badass. So,
with
but
Target,
if you went back and watched the movies, for someone who's not a Star Wars fan, it's like, well, he had like 20 lines of dialogue, and he didn't really do all that much. So,
I don't know about that. Tarkin was set up to be the main bad guy in Episode 4 if they didn't get another movie, because obviously they mentioned the Emperor in 4. But if you wouldn't have had a follow up movie, I think the general consensus would have been is like, oh yeah, Tarkin was the bad guy, and I think he did enough for me in that movie where I didn't really need a backstory for him, but I think that the backstory that we got, the book, Tarkin book, him showing up in Clone Wars, was actually really really cool because I really enjoyed the character. But yeah, I mean, kind of back to Rise of Skywalker. Let's talk a little bit about our Death Star scene because this is I feel one of the biggest parts of the movie. We have Rey scaling, the Death Star, kind of like back on Jakku.
yeah.
We have her
I feel like she probably even used some of the same moves. There was a lot of backtracking and deja vu moments in this movie, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. We do have her finding the Wayfinder, and then we have the confrontation with herself, and then the confrontation with Kylo. So, what did you think about the confrontation with her? I guess I'll just call it her dark side there.
Yeah, her sharp-toothed dark side.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, cool little scene. Not a whole lot to it. Not as emotionally satisfying as Luke's battle with himself in the Dagobah Swamps, but cool little scene. I thought that's what it would be. It's kind of out of place being in the Death Star. Yes, it's definitely a large dark side energy surrounding the Death Star, but it just, the fact that she entered that area and found herself was a little strange.
I don't know. I think that was a point though, because this was basically like Palpatine's domain. So being a Palpatine and confronting a place where a lot of killing had been done and a lot of death had been wrought, I understand what you're saying, but I also kind of think that I think it's a little bit more appropriate just because of how much death was inflicted on that and with that Death Star, maybe.
Yeah.
But I actually really enjoyed it. I thought, and you kind of brought up Luke in the cave, I thought it was very reminiscent of, facing yourself, facing your fear, the darkness within you. Obviously with Luke, he was facing Darth Vader, and then the mask blows off and he realizes that it's him that he's fighting. Yeah. So with her, it was straight up.
She doesn't have a face to really put to Palpatine. Right. She can't really.
But it was her.
That,
it was her fear of turning, because she seems to be grappling with this quite a bit, like the light and the dark. So I thought it was cool. I really liked the scene where. Part of the scene where they both lock sabers and they both kind of slowly turn to each other. That's when she does the pointy teeth thing. But I like that slow turn, just looking at each other,
Yeah, for sure. What'd you think of the music, by the way, for that scene walking in to the throne room?
I thought the music as a whole was very good, just in general in the movie. But we move,
creepy, march music I thought was really cool.
It was good.
Fitting.
And I
All
even
of Palpatine's music was extremely creepy and almost
yes,
horror
yeah,
movie-ish,
yeah.
and I loved it.
Well, they did horror film up Palpatine quite a bit. I mean, the first time we saw
Yes.
him, he looks blind and
Yeah,
desiccated and
almost like
so
a
forth.
zombie in a way. So,
Yeah, for sure. So
yeah, they did that very well.
we then kind of transition into the battle, second battle with Kylo. We're getting some dialogue. We get the lightsaber fight out on the wreckage, the water. Drown rat Kylo.
The dramatic walk, turning his lightsaber
Yeah.
over, that we've seen a million times.
Well, the thing is we got some different styles here, some changes in grips, and a very
Yeah.
and I'm just gonna say this here, and obviously if you have a different opinion, that's cool. But I think that in this instance, Kylo was the better fighter here. I think that
Kylo was in the entire movie more powerful than Rey until the final act.
I don't know if he's more powerful. I just think right here he controlled this. Power levels in this film I think are irrelevant because I've seen Obi-Wan Kenobi defeat, Darth Maul, but, failed to do anything relevant against Count Dooku. But, then Anakin beats Dooku, but then Obi-Wan then defeats Anakin. So like power levels are irrelevant. I think it's just the moment and the situational and something.
Well, you also have to factor in dueling styles and who has the advantage. And I don't really think we have different dueling styles in these movies like we did with the prequels.
Well, I think Rey is very driven by the Force providing her with that, and Kylo had more of an education in that. But you did see the sort of changes in style a little bit there. But Rey was on the offensive. Kylo was, at least in my opinion, seemed very defensive until she tired out, and then you got the clash again. He could have killed her if he wanted to.
He was going to, perceivably. Yes, a lot of people could argue, he was going to strike to the side of her, maybe cut a hand off or something like that. But, I mean, he could have delivered the killing blow to Rey at this moment and ended the movie.
I think he's so obsessed with bringing her on with him that he didn't have any intention of killing her there, but he could have. And then we have the intervention of Leia, and this is a big part that we kind of need to discuss a little bit further. A, what did Leia really do here? And B,
enough to kill her?
And that's the big debate. What did Leia really do in that instance? Was it just projecting her last bit of energy to reach him? Or I have a theory on this, but was it just that? Was it just to stop him so Rey could kill him? Did Rey take advantage? Did she really mean to kill him? Obviously, we know that she healed him after she delivered the blow. But what did you kind of think about Leia's intervention?
I thought of different things both times watching the movie, but there's a lot that could have been done off screen that we might get in the book form. She could have projected a memory onto him.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I'm leaning towards personally. I think it could have been easily just a happy memory of them raising him.
Okay.
Could have been a projection of Uncle Luke. It could have been a projection of Darth Vader. Turning to the light. It could have been quite a few different things. Obviously, we know he's obsessed with his grandfather, so that'd be an easy way to get to him. But honestly, in this movie, I think the thing that gets to him more than anything was his guilt for killing Han.
Sure.
So I think that might have had something to do with it as well. Mm-hmm. And we already saw a projection of Han in a way, a memory, yes. But
maybe
the memory of Han, could that have been something that Leia did? The scene that we get.
Okay, let me run a few things by here. So this is all built off the premise that one, Rey did not disappear into the Force when she was killed. Leia did not disappear into the Force until Kylo used his Force energy to reanimate Rey, and then he dies, and they both. So what I'm starting to think about is, did somehow Leia tether herself to the fate of these two people, and kind of create some sort of bond that linked them to this, to come to the ultimate conclusion that she saw in her vision in the last day of her training that Luke mentions. And we had that cool little cut scene where, they're fighting and they take off the mask and we have the de-aged Luke and Leia. Did you like that, by the way?
I thought it was amazing.
Oh, that was really cool.
That was
too.
Probably one of my favorite scenes in the movie, probably top 3.
Yeah, but see, Luke had said there she gave up her saber, she had a vision, and
her Jedi journey.
Yeah,
not training, journey.
Right.
As a Jedi.
And I think that part of that was seeing what her son had to do at the end to effectively save this girl that she hadn't met yet, and redeem himself for the evils that he was going to inflict on the world.
Yes, which brings in the question of, is Leia like Sifo Dyas? Does she have insight? Can she see the past and the future? Because she was technically right. The end of her Jedi journey was her son's death.
Correct. I don't know. I don't think it's in the realm of Sifo Dyas, because Sifo Dyas couldn't control anything and he just got a lot of random visions. But I definitely do think that she has. I mean, she had a valid vision, saw the future in the journey, and saw her part in it at this moment to sacrifice her remaining energy to make sure the path of Kylo Ren was to turn back to the light so that he could then help battle the Emperor and save Rey. So when he does this, when he saves Rey, gives up his life for her, they are both able to pass into the Force unencumbered because they've now both released that burden.
Yes.
And I also wonder if something of her lingered, in Rey to keep her from also pass. Because listen, she just took down the Emperor in the most epic way ever. Of course she's going to pass into the Force. It's obvious now that we don't have to have extensive learning like Qui-Gon Jinn did, because Vader passed in the Force.
Yeah. Yeah. Qui-Gon just unlocked the floodgates for all the other Jedi.
Yeah, and I in a way I kind of hate that, because
I do too.
It diminishes. It diminishes not only that, but him coming to Obi-Wan and Yoda and teaching them how to achieve this as well.
Yeah, and also I think the only 4 people who should be able to do this are Qui-Gon, Yoda, Obi-Wan, and Luke. Those are the only people I think that should. And you could even argue that Luke shouldn't, because he didn't have that connection with them.
Well, I mean, but
he also had a lot more turmoil in his life than Yoda and Obi-Wan.
He had the connection with Yoda, though. I mean, I think in all those years of leading up to this, Yoda probably told him what to do. So that doesn't surprise me with Luke.
But did someone teach Ben? Did someone teach Leia?
Well, see, here's the thing: does it matter,
Anakin.
or is it actually the Force? The Force's will. I tend to lead more toward the Force's will, but you can also kind of study to a point where you can get in there too.
Yeah.
So. But, kind of maneuvering back, we did have another instance of Force healing, bit more foreshadowing. I loved the Han thing. When I heard the "Hey Kid," I was like, who the hell is that? Oh, it's Han. I loved it.
And did you catch the nod to the original trilogy in that final bit of dialogue with them?
Which part? The I know part?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he was like gonna say I love you, but he's like, I know. I also like
very emotional.
Yeah.
Very emotional moment for me. I don't know about you, but that was
for sure.
Yeah, that was a big deal.
I like the reacting out of the Force Awakens scene. It's like I don't know if I have the strength, and he finally tosses a saber, and that is truly when Kylo Ren dies.
Yeah.
Is right there on the Death Star, which is kind of interesting because that's also where his grandfather died.
Fitting. It's very fitting. Yeah, maybe that's the same piece of metal they died on. You never know.
You never know. So next up, we have, the rebellion's picking up. We've got to go stop Palpatine. Rey, goes to Octu to essentially become a hermit like Luke.
Yeah.
She doesn't trust herself. We see her burn Kylo's tie and goes to throw the saber into the fire as well, which is caught by Force Ghost Luke. And I don't care what anybody says. I loved this. This Luke felt like Luke.
Anyone who didn't like that can just go straight to heck, because this is the Luke that we wanted. The Last Jedi.
I said in The Last Jedi, when he tossed the saber behind him, that felt more like snarky Ryan Johnson and or real life Mark Hamill than it did Luke Skywalker. And I said that, and I was like, it's not that I don't see that happening with this person playing the character, but for the character to do that, and now
that's where that movie lost me, right there.
But now he gets the redemption.
This movie completely won me back, and the dialogue of it is the most perfect part.
Yeah.
The weapon of a Jedi deserves more respect.
And that's exactly. He gets that redemption of tossing it behind him, and now we kind of erase and
what
reset.
Are you doing here?
Exactly. And again, it was in the novelization where Luke was ready to go with Rey and fight the good fight again until he saw her with Kylo in the hut. So we know that he was gearing up, and then eventually he did intervene. So him coming back here and putting Rey back on the path, and then we get Leia's lightsaber, which I was so happy to see. The training, the lightsaber, her being a Jedi for real, and just chose to not necessarily employ it every day. To see that actually canonized in a movie is awesome.
For Rey. Yeah.
Exactly. That was fantastic. I love that to death.
Yeah. Loved the lightsaber too.
It looked great. It looked very much Old Republic, shiny, brass and a lot of, cool pieces. It was pretty cool. Now, let me just, we'll stop here and have an aside. What did you think about Leia in this film? Because obviously we had to use scraps of filming. How'd you feel that fit in?
In a way you could tell that they did. It's just some of the responses were a little too perfect.
Well, the don't underestimate a droid. It's like, yeah, you clearly found that piece somewhere and then tried to work it in.
Right. You changed dialogue of Rey for that.
Right.
So, it's nobody's fault. Life can be cruel like that.
Yeah.
And it's obviously noticeable. But
I think it's noticeable because we all know that she's gone and we're looking for it, though. I think if we took that away, I don't think we would have noticed it as much, because I thought
if you asked someone who didn't know that she was gone, it would probably be very different. I don't think anyone's gonna say, "Oh, her acting was kind of weird." Well, this is why.
Yeah.
But I thought that they showed a lot of respect with every scene they put in. I thought they did her family a great service with that work.
Agreed.
Must have been very emotional for her daughter to watch the movie.
Imagine.
I cannot imagine at all. But no, I thought Leia was done very perfectly.
Agreed.
And just the final comment, "Goodbye, sweet princess."
Yeah.
That kind of hit hard. It's sad. It really is.
Now,
that she couldn't see the end of this story that she's been such a big part of.
Now, and one of the things that I really liked, although it was very sad, two things. So we had R2 at her bedside, and
Chewie.
He had been there with her in some form or fashion since the beginning. He was the one who carried the message. He was the one that she picked to send off with 3PO. And then Chewie's reaction. My goodness, that was great acting.
Chewie's reaction was my reaction at that moment. It hit hard. It really did.
That's the weight of knowing a lifelong friend and the wife of your best friend, and having her die, and really one of his last connections, because Luke's gone, Han's gone, Leia's gone.
Every reaction you've seen from Chewie really does emphasize that the old guard is, they're growing old. They're leaving us. His first reaction when he sees Lando again, how happy he is.
Yep.
When great. Han dies in the movie, in Force Awakens. In this final movie, it's just, Chewie is kind of like our connection, because he's we get a confirmation on his age, 250 years old, and all that stuff.
Yeah.
It's kind of like we're Chewie going through and watching all these people grow old and
Yep.
leave us. But
Yeah.
so that was great. Probably the most emotional parts of the movie, and it's not even from a real actor when you think about it compared to everyone else.
Well, I mean, an actor under a suit.
Yeah.
So,
but getting back to Hawk 2,
Yep.
probably my favorite sequence.
The Porg, right?
What's that?
The Porg. Seeing
Porg,
a Porg
of
again?
course.
Sorry.
The Porgs.
Sorry, my bad.
No,
Go ahead.
So the second, obviously, you see her burning Kylo's ship, you know what's going to happen. You know what she's going to fly out of there. Any true fan would think that instantly.
Yeah, it was cool to see Red 5 up in the air again, for sure.
And it was even better to get that great flashback to the original trilogy, playing the exact same music as he lifts the X-Wing out of the water, just like his master did before him.
Yep. Yeah,
just
a nice
all
callback.
The Easter eggs and flashbacks in this movie really proves how much he cares about the Star Wars fans.
Yep, exactly.
And he has catered to them more than I think Ryan ever tried to.
True. So let's go ahead and maneuver into the final quarter of this movie. We have now, General Poe and General Finn making up plans for the assault. We have ground troops to attack that antenna, and air troops to provide cover and try and take out some of the world.
They fly now?
What's that? Oh my God!
They fly now?
Yeah, they fly now. But this whole plan is hatched to try and get rid of this fleet. Rey lays down the markers so they can make it through the unknown regions. That void between their region and the unknown regions, and Rey goes ahead to confront Palpatine. So let's talk space battle, and then we'll talk force battle. So we get a very small contingent of folks, right? We get, some pilots, a couple ships, nothing major really. And we send Lando and Chewie out to try and reinforce, get more troops. It's like, come on, guys, we need you now. And
kind of Last Jedi-esque.
Kind of. But, obviously Last Jedi, they didn't get anybody. Nobody came. So now we've got to go to the core worlds, figure it out. You got to bring somebody back. We get a swap of plans. Now the dish is on the command ship. We get the ground assault on the ship with the horse things, and we get our first look at Sith troopers, which didn't.
And our last.
They aren't really all that special.
No.
We get quite a bit here. So I thought that this was pretty epic. I do enjoy space battles. What do you think about the space battle?
I enjoyed it too. I thought the setup for how hopeless this whole thing really was, and the payoff of an entire, gosh, what's bigger than an armada?
A super armada. Super duper armada.
A Super Saiyan God, Super Saiyan Armada.
Black, blue.
Yeah.
Yeah. 2. Saiyan.
Just an amazing amount of ships showing up at the end to save the day. And then, just all get fried. But no, I thought the space battle was very good. Again, it was the most emotional scene for Poe. I thought it was very well done. Yeah. Especially when Emperor Palpatine intervenes. Probably my biggest oh shit moment in this movie.
Very, very cool. The intervention, don't worry, my friend. They're my true believers or followers, whatever he said.
Loyalists.
Yeah. He had it under control in quotations, but I loved it when the fleet came finally, and Pride in his second in command. They don't have a navy. They're not a navy. They're just people. And so many ships. It was a really, really cool visual, and we got some destruction. I mean, it started to turn the tide, And then obviously Papa Palpatine had to intervene here. So let's rewind a bit, go down to ground level. Rey enters Palpatine's, temple or secret hidey hole. And
Ice Castle.
Yeah. And she finds the throne room, and then we hear the sinister voice of our favorite emperor forever and ever, Palpatine. And he just goads the living crap out of her. And how crazy was it to see like all the folks in like the stands, like a coliseum, and they're chanting at her. And then,
that was something I kind of want to talk about too before we jump ahead.
Yeah, go for
it. I've been seeing a lot of different theories on who these masked figures are. Now, the three that stand out to me the most are obviously 1, clones of Palpatine, 2, Sith loyalists, which he does name them as that, so I kind of lean towards that. 3, there have been some compelling arguments that these are the amalgamations of the Sith that are now living within Palpatine. All of, we're talking Bane, all these other Sith are now manifesting themselves to witness the ritual as they pass from Palpatine to Palpatine. But what do you lean towards?
Oh, I just thought it was a bunch of Palp clones. Yeah, really? I mean, come on. It just all depends on how mystic you want to get with it. Could it be like like you said, the amalgamation of a bunch of the blah blah blahs? Okay, sure, it could be in complete nerd world.
Yeah, we delved into nerd.
Oh my
world
God,
with this
Bane's
movie,
out
though.
there! Whoa, I don't think It's a very interesting thought, but no, I personally just think it was all of his clones in one place, and I also think it's a way to officially kind of tell you that the slate's wiped clean after they were all destroyed. It's like, so all the Palpatines are dead there. It's all done. No more Palps. He's done.
Until.
Well, here's the thing, though. I think that the only thing that can truly destroy Palpatine is his own lightning. And I can't remember who I was talking to about this, so I apologize. But, we had Mace Windu's confrontation. Yeah. How did he truly get the upper hand? By redirecting that lightning and frying him, essentially. If he would have been able to keep doing that, Palpatine would have been dead. We wouldn't have had a further story without the intervention of Anakin.
You could say the same about with Darth Vader, too. Exactly. I mean, he did re-deflect some onto himself through Vader's suit as well.
So I kind of start to think about the only way for Palpatine to truly die is by essentially his own hand.
Yeah, so truly, Palpatine is the most powerful character in all of Star Wars, and he's just too powerful for his own good.
Let me run a theory by you real quick here, because I got into another discussion. So we have this whole thing about seemingly transference. Yeah. If Rey strikes Palpatine down, his essence will go into her, potentially. That's the inference. Yeah. I don't know if that's completely true, but that's the inference. If that's the inference, then Palpatine can never be destroyed. And the only way that he could be destroyed is by his own hand, I think. So let's just say that's transference is real. This is very reminiscent of 6 when, he's goading Luke Skywalker, take your weapon and strike me down in your hate. And when he finally did take his saber, think about this. Darth Vader blocks him. Do you think...
Why did he block him?
Exactly. Do you think Darth Vader knew about the transference and said, this is not going to happen to my son? He'll either turn to me, die by my hand, he'll defeat me and hopefully defeat the Emperor, or maybe there's the eventuality that he'd turn. Now, I don't think that this was the idea of George Lucas. I don't think that was an idea at the time of the movie's filming, but let's just say hypothetically, do you think in Vader's mind he kind of knew about this potential for transference and he didn't want his son to become a vessel for Palpatine?
Oh, I completely agree with that theory, and I would also make the argument that before his battle on Mustafar, that was what Palpatine planned for him.
Yep.
He wanted to transfer his essence into the chosen one.
Yep.
One with a stronger, younger body that could truly be, I mean, talk about unlimited power. The true raw power of Palpatine in Anakin's body.
Well, it's nuts, right? To want to just be a raisin for your entire life.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't get it. I mean, yeah, of course you want nice new tone body. Super cool. So,
but yeah, and also on the topic of Palpatine, what did you think of Ian's performance?
I thought he did great. I thought he did great as normal. I mean, I think that he's
never had a bad moment.
No, he's able to play that character to perfect. It's his character. Nobody else can do it like him. So no. I had no issues.
It sent chills down my spine the first few times he spoke when I first saw him. All of the, I mean, even looking at his hands.
Yeah.
For the first time.
Those were gross.
Yes. Yeah, they were like little baby hands that never really formed right from birth.
Well, you saw some of his like bone sticking out there too, which is crazy. Yeah. So when he was sapping the life force out of Rey and Ben when they finally came together, did you? I had a thought is like, what if he was able to sap enough life energy to kind of like go back to looking like Senator Palpatine? Like, oh, I got my hair back. Too. No, he just went for old yellow eyes raisin Palpatine.
Is it bad that I kind of wanted them to do that and get to see Ian actually just himself for once?
I think it would have been awesome. I think it would have been great.
Yeah. Especially with, I mean, you got so many pictures of him with the old sheave hair and everything. Once it was revealed that he was going to be in the movie, I think everyone wanted him back to his full potential. Yeah. I think that, honestly, it was almost a bit of a disappointment in a way.
Kind of. I mean, it's cool to see classic Emperor, from 6 and the yellow eyes and kind of restored. But I kind of thought, if you're going to take that much, might as well keep going. So
they're clearly still alive. Don't stop now.
Exactly. So let's talk a little bit about, this final confrontation. So obviously Rey is there alone. Kylo does come in, with a blaster. He doesn't have a saber anymore. Confronts the Knights of Ren.
Confrontation with the Knights of Ren. Why did they fight him? I don't know. Why not?
Well, I think we're going to get a lot more about them in the Rise of Kylo comic. We got the first issue dropped the day before the movie dropped, and it kind of has them as sort of like this, death or dishonor type of warrior group that, they're very vicious. So I think that, they see it as their leader betrayed them. So they're going to kill him because that's what you have to do. And we're able to see that force transference, giving him the lightsaber. He's able to defeat them. Rey uses Leia's saber. And then, of course, we go into, we're going to stand together. And then Palps just destroys them. So let me, because we didn't really talk about this yet. Let's talk about the connection. What did you think about the connection between these two throughout this movie?
You're referring to the transference, the bond.
Yeah, the whole 9 yards. I mean, we had I thought it was a great scene where Rey was in the ship and Kylo was on the planet, and they shift perspectives, and they're fighting each other. But the only thing I'll say is there's got to be a stormtrooper like watching Kylo just swinging his saber around. It's like, hey boss, you're really good at that mime class now.
Until Vader's helmet just magically appears out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, that totally threw us for a loop, didn't it?
It was,
I was not expecting that at all.
It was definitely different, but now that I see it, because we got a little bit of that, just a snippet in the preview. But I kind of enjoyed that.
Yeah,
that whole idea of the connection. It was
a cool way to do it, and I wish we would have thought of that, because, I mean, we've seen it happen.
Right.
So obviously we probably should have caught that, but a lot of people probably should have caught that. So moving on, but the bond between them is very compelling. Mm-hmm. It really does add another layer to their backstory.
Yep.
And honestly, I kind of like how they used it to bring Palpatine back to full power.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, did we really want that to be the end of Palpatine, just hanging from that metal arm,
No.
decaying?
I don't
No,
think so.
that's not how any of us wanted to see Palpatine go out. We wanted full OP power Palpatine back.
Yep.
And that's what we got.
So let's talk about.
If that's the whole reason they had the bond from the beginning, I am perfectly fine with that.
Yeah, I think it was done really well, so I don't mind it at all. But let's talk about another connection that Rey made to all the Jedi. I am all the Sith.
Legion.
Well, I am all the Jedi.
Yeah, you couldn't have picked a cooler voice for that.
I know. It's cool.
Honestly, I think it would be kind of cool if when she said that, they combined the voices of all the Jedi that spoke to her with her voice.
That would have been interesting.
Kind of a Legion thing,
Hey, we can't cross over too much. Everybody's already saying that this is too much like Marvel.
Yeah. See, I don't see that all that much, honestly. But that's just me. Yeah.
Well, you're just insane.
I don't have to compare everything to Marvel that's good anymore.
Marvel.
I don't feel like they're the standard.
Marvel. Everything's Marvel, man. Everything is awesome in Marvel. So let's go
Everything
some of the.
Is awesome, including Lego.
Yeah. So let's go through some of the voices we heard. We heard Anakin, Hayden Christensen.
Yep.
We heard both
Ewan
and Alec.
Yep.
Liam Neeson, so Qui-Gon Jinn.
Yep.
Yoda. I didn't even notice Yoda. I've never heard him before.
I heard it the first time. The second watch. I did hear it.
No, he was there. I was joking. He's very distinctive.
No, really. He said he had 2 lines, and I didn't catch it the first.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he had 2 lines.
Gotcha. Well, no, it's true. Samuel L. Jackson, so Mace. Yep. We had Ashley Eckstein, who voices Ahsoka Tano, which I thought was great. I didn't hear her, but I was looking at the credits. I was like, oh, she's there. Freddie Prinze.
Half of it was from the animation.
Yep. Freddie Prinze Jr., Kanan Jarrus was there.
Mm-hmm.
We had one of the Twilight Jedi, Elias Sakura. Yep. Okay. Yep. Some of these are getting a little bit much for me. Heidi Gallia, who's a Jedi Master, served on the Jedi Council. I was in Phantom Medicine in the animated. Okay. So, we did get a good list of Jedi here, both well-known and a couple that are a little bit more obscure, depending on how you watched and what you watched.
Yeah. Kind of wish we could have gotten some. I mean, obviously we can't get Old Republic, but I think it would have been a cool tie-in since they kept saying 1,000 generations. Well, we only got 2 generations of Jedi.
Well, I mean,
why couldn't we have gotten Revan and all kinds of different ones? Obviously, the voice would be kind of lost on it, but
that's the problem. See,
I think it would have been cool. But for the fans that have taken the time to actually look up the list, I think they would have appreciated seeing voices like Revan.
Yeah, but the thing is like, where has Revan been voiced though? See, that's the thing.
Well, he hasn't.
Because the only thing is,
it would have had to been the list.
It would have only been a list, and I think that would have just been confusing. I mean, granted, the last couple on this list are a little bit obscure, but like Kanan, having him in there, Ahsoka, Mace, Yoda, both Obi-Wans, and then Anakin, I thought was pretty good.
It was a good combination
for sure.
Now, this is probably the biggest argument for this scene.
Okay.
How do you feel about not actually showing these Jedi?
So this is something that I think I discussed with Erica on the recording we did. There are a couple things that I feel like I would have done, but I'm not a director. But let me put it to you this way. What would have been awesome is if we would have seen all the Force ghosts of all the Jedi behind her raising their hands and using the Force to help push her closer to Palpatine and showing that they were really with her in spirit. Yeah. That would have been really cool to me.
I think it would have been cool. It would have been kind of hard to do with, old Ben, obviously. But for the rest of them, I think that would have been pretty neat.
Yeah.
And I think it would have been even cooler if we could have had Anakin right behind her, almost like maybe putting a hand to her shoulder and having some kind of final comment or confrontation with the Emperor. I think that would have been.
I actually think that
epic.
would have been very one of his lines was, "Bring balance back,
to the Force,
like I
I
did."
did. Yeah,
And I'm still maintaining he did. He did bring balance to the Force at one time. It's just from a certain point of view. But
well, it's not. It's from a point of view that isn't of the Jedi. So.
Yes, true. But no, I think that would have been cool. Personally, I would have enjoyed that myself. And then the only other thing that I would have changed is when we had Ben sacrifice for Rey, he puts his gigantic, mitten on her entire body. That dude's huge.
He is.
What would have been really cool, because I didn't feel as impacted, like, okay, yeah, he's healing her, but we don't see it like we have before. Would have been really neat is if you would have seen
because you saw it with him, how she healed him.
Right, but would have
you saw skin reform.
Yes. But what would have been cool is like if you would have seen like some rocks floating up around them, or maybe even going a little bit levitation like she did, in the beginning of the movie. Just something a little bit more impactful,
Force-esque.
showing that he's not just giving her some Force energy to revive, but he's truly giving up his life for her.
Yeah.
So that's the only two real small. All the Jedi would have been big, but that would have been just a small one.
Another big thing is how short the battle was with Palpatine after the transfer of all the power of the Jedi.
I'm cool with that though, because he's always been overconfident.
Yeah,
so
and
sometimes
I
just
didn't really
want
to see a lightsaber battle, and I feel like a Force battle could have gotten really weird really quickly.
I mean, listen, where is this lightsaber?
I'm gonna go ahead and say it's gone.
We just haven't seen it in a while.
It's still in that statue.
Yeah.
You put it back in the statue.
All right, so Reylo, you're super happy about that, right?
I'm not unhappy with it. I mean, it was there. They had a connection that he really couldn't argue with, and it was there.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't something
that
better
than I expected.
Yeah, it wasn't something that I really wanted, but it was okay.
Romance in Star Wars has never really been a main focal point for the main characters. I mean, they did it terribly with the prequels. They did it well with Han and Leia, but that was, they weren't the main focus of the movie.
Yeah.
So to pick the main characters, I don't know. It's definitely a Disney thing. So.
Well, it was kind of a sweet moment between a mass murderer and the most pure person in the galaxy, but just want to remind everybody, he killed a lot of people.
Yeah, Starkiller Base was kind of his baby. But I don't know. I mean, the pure joy in her face and everything before the kiss, I mean, it did showcase how much she truly cared for him and all that good stuff. So
well, let me ask you this though: when she wakes up and she looks at him, the music stops for a moment, and I looked at that. I was like, "Oh shit, the transference happened. We're gonna have one more showdown, and it's gonna be Ben and Rey." And
Rey's now evil.
Oh my god! If that would have happened, I'm sure there would have been a lot of people that are like, balls. But I would have.
Oh yeah, me too.
Oh, dude, I would. I'm for it. That's like classic, like horror movie trope. When you think it's over, and
stand
it's
up in
over.
the theater kind of thing.
And then at that point, it's like, oh, well, Ben doesn't just lay down and die. No, he has to somehow do something else cool to take Palpatine into him and like destroy him internally or something in his stomach. He has to digest the evil of Palpatine.
Okay, now you're just getting weird. Digest the evil of Palpatine.
I don't know. Well, I mean, whatever. Fine. So we do get our happy ending, though.
You know what else would have been great if Palpatine just came back just quick enough to cut someone's arm off real quick. Cut someone's hand off.
Are you disappointed that a Skywalker didn't lose their hand?
No, I'm disappointed that no one lost their hand in the entire trilogy. Not even though it's just It's just bullcrap.
Oh goodness.
It's a staple of Star Wars that someone has to lose their damn hand.
Yeah, that's.
We had a couple people lose their heads, but no hands.
Yeah, there was definitely some head losses.
That poor little space creature that helped the spy out.
Yeah, he didn't last very long at all.
Win the war.
Win the war. Okay, well, we'll do that for you, buddy. You won't be around to see it, but we'll help.
Yeah.
All right, so we kind of get a little bit of our happy ending here. We get our yay moment back at base, our little episode 6 yay moment. Chewie gets his medal.
We just need our music, man.
Yeah.
We need our music.
And I think probably the coolest thing though from that was really the hug between Rey, Finn, and Poe. I thought that was probably the best part personally for me.
That was a good cry from Finn.
Yeah,
from Boyega.
He's good.
A good showcase of both Finn's emotion towards his friends and him just his acting skills.
Yep. Well, you want to move to Tatooine?
Sure, the part that's probably most debated.
I have no problem.
It bothered people so much. So much.
I will say, though, when she laid the sabers down on the table, I thought, oh, she's going to make a saber out of both of them. Her surrogate mom and dad sabers, and she's going to dismantle them and make her own super saber.
Sure.
She didn't. She just buried
Don't you wish
him.
they could have just, had a... she goes into the hut and she looks around and there's one of those little lightsaber crafting tables from Fallen Order.
Well, I'm just saying, it's like one of the coolest deleted scenes ever was Luke in a cave on Tatooine before 6, making the saber, and it wasn't in the movie.
And no one knows about it.
I was just always it would be so cool to actually see that in a movie form.
Yeah.
What do you think of her lightsaber?
I kind of liked it. It was definitely a scavenger's lightsaber by far. The switch was probably my favorite lightsaber switch, period.
Yeah.
No one ever really showcases the switch like they did with that. That was pretty sweet.
That almost seems
did it kind of make you think of Corns just a little bit?
That's what I was going to say, because it seems like you could regulate it like that. Yeah, like you could regulate the power output.
Dagger to double the length of a normal lightsaber.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know if it's full dual band, but I mean you could totally make it that if you wanted. And I got to say, man, I don't know if on your second viewing you saw it. That's a big saber. I think it's dual blade. It
looks fat in her hand.
I think it's dual blade.
Freaking huge. It's like the thickness of both of Luke and Leia's sabers.
Well, it's not just thick, it's long. I think it's a dual blade lightsaber. Okay. I'm not moving from that. And that would be awesome because we need more dual blade lightsaber.
And did you notice it kind of looked like the tip of her staff a bit?
Yeah. Yeah, it is reminiscent of her staff. Maybe what if she dismantled her staff and used that as
even better, what if she could take the lightsaber apart and put it on each end of her staff?
Oh God,
now, that'd be cool.
That would be funny, man.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness.
That'd be the most awkward way to start a duel. It's like, hold on. Let me just. Oh crap! I cross-threaded it. Oh, I'm gonna have to remake my lightsaber.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, that'd be interesting. But I thought it was cool. I thought the goodbye was cool.
What'd you think of her namesake at the end, though? I think that's what bothered people the most.
I don't see why. I mean, her tale is also a tale of surrogate parents. She kind of attached herself to Han because he was kind. Leia a ton, definitely attached to Leia. Yeah. And then, Luke was her first teacher. So I think seeing them out there waving, giving her kind of the nod. Yeah. I mean, she's totally a Skywalker now, for sure.
Yeah,
and
that's the thing. Look, if they didn't want her to call herself a Skywalker, they wouldn't have come to her at that moment. I don't think so at all.
Yeah, and but I'll say...
Who are you going to want to be in that situation? Do you want to be a Palpatine?
I'm Rey Kenobi.
Do you really want to associate yourself with the Emperor? Or would you rather associate yourself with Leia and Luke? Yeah,
Yeah, that's the thing.
easy.
And the only thing that I'll say is I kind of thought that Ben should have showed up there too. I know nobody seems to agree with
Yeah.
me, but I feel like Ben in that moment should have also been there just to kind of give her a
Look, he
nod.
passed into the Force, so clearly he's a Force ghost. So why not?
They're going to do some pottery together later.
Oh God.
Yeah, Patrick Swayze.
You went there, didn't you?
Yeah, pottery lessons.
Totally went there.
Ray, you're doing an awful lot of pottery, aren't you? What you got there, Ray? Another
Where are the
clay
pots?
pot?
Where are the pots?
There's a lot of 80s music being played in there, Ray. Close the door. Yeah, what's going on? Leave me alone.
This is my safe space.
Okay. Well, I think
it drives me.
Yeah. Well, we've gone through quite a bit here, so
yeah.
I think we might start winding down a bit. But let me get your rating. Out of 10, what do you give the movie?
I'll give this one a 9 out of 10.
Okay. I have not given my rating yet, and I said in one of the episodes that I would not give my rating until this episode later in another episode. No, I am going to give this a nice pure 9. I think that, there are some flaws, there are some holes maybe, and I'm really interested in seeing the novelization. I think that's going to be a turn for some of us. It was for Last Jedi for me.
You realize they could make a book out of just Lando going to get this fleet?
Not just that. This movie, let me put this in your mind. This movie feels like an EU book, like an entire series that was slam banged into a movie. Like this, this could be segmented into its own EU book series.
Could you, seriously, you just think of the reactions of all the prominent writers and people who are set to do Star Wars books, watching this movie, how they're just salivating over it.
Right.
It's like, oh, I got a perfect idea for a book now. There's so much potential to expand on this.
I agree.
More Hux, more Lando, more everything.
I agree.
It's an exciting time. It's not the end. And I really walked into this thinking it would be, end of an era, but really it's just not.
No, I think we have a lot more to go.
So ultimately 42 years of buildup for this 9-piece saga. What do you think overall?
Well, as with anything, you're going to get your ups and downs, but I am very satisfied with what we've had. I'm satisfied with the beginning, and I'm satisfied with the ending. And
but not the middle.
No, it's not that. The middle, the whole thing has given us so much to discuss for so many years. It's blossomed podcasts, and it's made people famous, and it's made people internet famous, and it's made folks listen. Yeah, totally. It's made folks tune into podcasts like this to get other perspectives because the entire thing makes you think. And that's what I love. We all get to speculate and think and put this into a perspective that matters, and it continues to weave itself in and out of our lives and being a part of something that we just enjoy so much. So
and it's been a great story throughout these 9 movies of good old Sheev. Because when you think about it, he is the core of the Star Wars universe. Now, they've made sure of that in this movie.
Yep. So let's do one last parting question, because this is the most important question I've ever asked you in your entire life.
Oh, good God. I'm not ready for it.
Who in the H got with Palpatine to have a child with that reason?
Mara Jade.
No. I don't even want to do it. I don't like it.
Oh, man. You know what? My answer to that is I don't want to know.
He was a test tube baby. Let's just leave it at that. I don't know.
Cloning. It's cloning.
Oh, God. Interesting, though, that his son turned away from him and his granddaughter turned away from him, too. Guess his genes weren't all that strong.
I can tell you one thing, though. Clearly, she must have been beautiful, because that guy did not get any looks from old Palpatine. No wrinkles, no
Yeah.
No zombie face, none of that.
Well, I mean,
And neither did Ray.
I've talked about this with a few people, and it was kind of the general consensus that it would have made more sense for Ray to be like a great grandchild. So it would have been like Sheev with somebody when he was like a senator, when he was like a normal looking person, you know. But because of the timelines, this would have definitely been when he was Raisin. And it just doesn't make any sense to me. Well, hey, man, somebody married Charles Manson.
Did they really give Ray's father's age?
No, there were no ages. I'm just saying they didn't look very old, and there could be a million and one things, but you know, hey, just saying, one day we'll have to figure out who Mama is. Grandma.
There's gonna be a whole book about it.
Grandma Palpatine.
Grandma Pap.
No, Sheev was such a nice man. He was a bit of a raisin, but we loved each other very much until he murdered me.
All that temper of his, though, when that lightning started a flying.
Ooh.
By the way,
I was the only one that could calm him down.
Until he murdered me.
Yeah, you know that's what would have happened too.
Oh yeah, she didn't have a.
He was always talking about strike me down and all this stuff. Get up in my face, Sheev.
What if she was a Force user and you just imagine her using the Force to beat him over the head with a frying pan or something?
Is it like a Pink Floyd thing? Another brick in the wall, the song where he goes home at night where his fat and psychopathic wife beats him within inches of his life. And that's why we figured it out.
Palpatine's so mean at work.
We figured it out. We got a breakthrough. That's why he was so mean, because his wife beat him all the time.
The Death Star is just an outward manifestation of his hatred for his wife.
Now you've destroyed Sheev Palpatine. Meet Mama Palpatine, level 2.
Frying pans floating all around her. She's got 4 arms. She's Goro.
All in all, we're just another brick in the wall.
Now that we've just ruined the night. But really, what'd you think of Old Force Storm? We've, read about it so many times in the books. We finally got to see it.
Yeah, it was very cool. I mean, we're skipping over so much here because obviously we've almost been
terrible.
About 2.
If this was a review, it'd be terrible.
No, it's cool, but we've been going about 2 hours, and the Force Storm was great. I really liked when he was finally destroyed that it dissipated and you saw the sun. And even I think Lindsay had pointed this out when Kylo tossed his saber into the sea. You notice how the sea kind of calmed a little bit. So it's the dark side. It's the nature's manifestation of coming back into play when the dark side is sort of out of it. Because that planet looked horrible when Palpatine was alive.
Yeah, it did.
Probably looks horrible now too when you've got like 1,000 destroyers that were just sent to its ashy end.
Right. Man, who came up with just? Hey, we're going to have all of these Star Destroyers, and they're all going to have a Death Star on them.
Hey, Papa Palpatine, you know the number to call. Beep, beep, beep.
Did all of his clones create this armada?
Dude, I have no idea. There's so much.
I imagine all these little mangled Palpatines floating around trying to build these.
Palpatine, I need you to get me some more ring bolts. Okay, Palpatine, let me get right on that. Sheev, why are you taking a break right now? Leave me alone, Sheev.
Two of them walk up to each other. You get that Spider-Man meme moment, the old cartoon, like, Spider-Man, hey, I'm Spider-Man. No, you're Spider-Man. No, I'm Spider-Man.
I think we've just also created a new either Robot Chicken or Family Guy episode. So let's stop while we're ahead. But anyway, it's good talking about this. We're gonna go back through other things and theories and whatnot as time goes by. Honestly, this is probably going to dominate a little bit of our time because it was just so epic. And then, I mean, once we get it out on Blu-ray, it'll be an entirely different game again, I think. and the
so now
novelization and blah, blah, blah.
we'll have literally a 2-hour review of just the deleted scenes. Good God, the deleted scenes! I can't wait.
I'm hoping there's some juicy stuff there, but anyway,
There's gotta be. There's no way you fit that all into one movie.
Yeah,
there's got to be some cool stuff.
Should be, hopefully.
And the deleted scenes will be Mara Jade.
No, we're never bringing back Mara Jade, unfortunately.
I know. Sweet, sweet Mara.
So anyway, folks, if you want to follow us on social media, you can hit us up on Twitter at TC Plan Podcast. Find us on Facebook, or you can send us a good old email to tcplanpodcast@gmail.com. Let us know what you thought about the Rise of Skywalker, any of your theories, comments, concerns, and did we figure out why she was such an angry man?
I believe we did.
I think we did.
Let us know.
So let us know. But as always, you guys have a great rest of your week.
And as always,